start this section here, 3.4. And I started this yesterday, so I went through a little bit of this, or I alluded to it at the end of yesterday's class, so maybe you caught that. So today shouldn't be too bad. So what we'll do is we'll go through these different forms of the equations of a line. Tomorrow we'll go over the homework, and then you'll have a quiz, or well, a test, I'm sorry. So we're doing a test. So this chapter, instead of having a chapter test, we've broken it up into giving you 3 subtests. Okay, so we'll do the first one, will be Monday, because we'll go over this homework tomorrow, so we'll go over this, and then it'll be on the first 4 sections, okay? So Monday you'll have your test on the first 4 sections. If any of you, by the way, too, I try to spend about 10 to 15 minutes on the homework, so if you need to go over more, and I only went over like 6, and you need to go over some more, I'm here after school as well. I'm here during lunch and study halls.
Are we going to have extra credit for each of the tests?
Yes, but I'm not sure. Is it already online? It's already online. This big little thing. So it's already online. Yeah. So feel free to go ahead and do that before Monday and turn that in. Okay. Before I get to this part, who can remember from yesterday? What's the standard form of a line? What's the standard form of an equation of a line? Anybody? AX plus BY equals C. That's the standard form. So you have to be really careful because these questions on the tests and on the homework and in the book, they're going to ask you to put it in different forms. It'll either say put it in the standard form, which I just gave you. That's what we used yesterday. That's the standard form of a line. And the standard form, remember, gives us our slope because I can use minus A over B. So that's why that's a standard form. So sometimes the question will ask for that. Then the 2 new forms we're going to go over today, although I did go through them a little bit yesterday. The first one's called the point-slope form of the equation of a line. And that's this formula right here. The y minus y sub 1 equals m times the quantity x minus x sub 1. And it's called the point-slope form of the line because we have a point. Notice you have x1 and y1. That's just a point. And you have m, which is the slope. So if you have the slope and you have a point, you can put it in that form. So give me a point, Austin. 1032. So y minus 32 equals x minus 10. And give me a slope, Micah. 4. So if I have a slope and I have a point, that's my equation of the line. Now you may need to simplify that down a little because y minus 32 equals 4x minus 40. Okay? And then you could add 32 to each side. Which is just y equals 4x minus 8. Okay? But this is this point-slope form of a line. So you can plug that in. And I have one down here. So if I have 2 points, I can also find the point-slope form of the line. And the reason is because if I have 2 points, I can find out any slope. And that's all we did yesterday. That's why we did that. So if I have negative 3, 5, and negative 6, 4, I can just subtract those. 5 minus 4 is 1. Negative 3 minus negative 6 is 3. So I have a slope of 1/3. Well, now it's easy because it's just y minus, it doesn't matter what point, you can pick either one. So if you like this one, you can pick that one. Y minus negative 6 is plus 6 equals m, our slope, 1/3. X minus, oh, I'm sorry, did I use my y over there? If you catch me doing that, just yell. Say, don't do that. So that was y minus 4 equals m x minus x1, which would be x plus 6. So y minus 4 equals 1/3 x plus 2. Y equals 1/3 x plus 6. And notice that it'll work with both points. Like I said, it doesn't matter which one you use. So I could also say y minus y1 equals m x minus x1, and y minus 5 equals 1/3 x plus 1, y equals 1/3 x, add 5 plus 6. And you notice that both of those lines are the exact same line, so it doesn't matter which one you picked. But if you have 2 points, you can determine the point-slope form of a line. Okay. The next one, so you have the standard form, you have the point-slope form, and then the last one is called the y, or the slope-intercept form. Okay? And that means that if b is the y-intercept of a line, the equation y equals mx plus b is called the slope-intercept form. Notice that your slope here is the m, so you have to have the slope, and b was the y-intercept. The y-intercept is just the point on the graph where it crosses the y-axis, where your line will cross the y-axis. So, if it asks you for the slope-intercept, it wants it in this form. All right, let's find the equation of a line with a slope of 1/2 and a y-intercept of -4. Well, our form is y equals mx plus b. And it tells us our slope is 1/2. And it tells us our y-intercept is -4. So that is the line. If I've given an intercept and a slope, that is the line. And furthermore, if I wanted to draw that line, I could do that because I know that I have a point, my y-intercept is -4. That means my line is going to cross here at -4. And I know I have a slope of 1/2. That means that as I rise 1, I run 2. And so, if I do that, I'm going to draw it straight, but if we went through all those points there, that would be what your line would look like. You have your y-intercept at -4, and you have a slope of 1/2. Finally, the theorem that we are going to work with says this. You have 2 lines, L1 and L2. They're different lines. They're not the same line. And they have 2 differences because they're not the same line. They have 2 slopes. So the slope of line 1 is M1, and the slope of line 2 is M2. Okay? If line 1 and 2 are they're parallel if their slopes are equal. So if you have 2 lines that have the same slope, they're parallel. Okay? If you have y equals 2x plus 4, that's going to be parallel to the line y equals 2x plus 6. Those 2 lines are parallel. They're not the same line because notice that this line will cross the y-axis at the point 0,4. This line will cross the y-axis at the point 0,6. But they'll both be parallel to one another. Okay, they'll both have a slope of 2. If your slopes are perpendicular, that if your slopes together, if you multiply your slopes together and you get -1, that means that your lines are perpendicular. So if I have this line here, y equals 2x plus 4, my slope is 2. So what would I multiply by 2 to get -1? Anyone? Well, you can set it up like an equation if you're not sure. 2 times x equals -1. What would my x be? -1/2. Good. So if I have another line that's -1/2 x plus 2, that tells me because those 2 slopes together, their products, when I multiply them together, are -1, those 2 slopes have perpendicular lines, are slopes of perpendicular lines. So one will be -1/2 and one will be the other way, and you'll have a right angle there. It's slightly not quite as steep as that. All right, so let's do an example of this. Find an equation of the line parallel to y equals 3x through the point 5, 10. Okay. So, we know that if it's parallel, what do we know about the slope of the new line? So once a new line, what's the slope going to be? I'm sorry? 3. It's going to be the exact same. The slope's going to match if it's going to be a parallel line. So my new line is going to have a slope of 3. And my line is going to pass through the point 5, 10. How will I find the equation of that line? Raise your hand if you know how to find the equation of that line. It's one of the 3 forms that we studied. It's the first one we talked about today after the standard form. The point slope form of the line. Remember, y minus y1 equals m x minus x1. If you have a point and you know your slope, you can have the equation of your line. Y minus 10 equals 3 x minus 5. And you're going to have to memorize those 3 forms of the lines because you're going to use each of them in different situations. So y minus 10 equals 3x minus 15. And you could leave it, by the way, in this form if that's all that they asked for. You could leave it there. You'll notice that I almost always change it because this is going to be the one that you're going to use most often, is the slope-intercept form. So I tend to change it down to that. But if you wrote this on your paper, that's not incorrect. That's the same. These are the same lines. I just like to get it down to the slope-intercept because that's what you're going to use most often. So either of those are correct. And that's a line that goes through the point. That's the equation line that goes through 5, 10. Okay. Find the equation of a line perpendicular to y plus 2x equals 6 with the same y-intercept. Okay. Do I know what the slope is of this line? Yes or no? No. Why don't I know? Other than it was a 50-50 guess. In order to know the slope, I have to get into a different form, right? Which form? Slope-intercept form. So I want it to be y equals mx plus b. So it wants me to get the y by myself. So how am I going to do that? What would be the first thing I do? So I have y plus 2x equals 6. What am I going to do? Subtract 2x. Y equals minus 2x plus 6. Now notice what you have. You know what your slope is because it's the coefficient here of your x. So you know your slope is negative 2. This line has negative 2. And I have a y-intercept of plus 6. This is my y. I haven't run out of room, so I'll break my hand teeth. But my y-intercept is plus 6. So I want to find a new line that's perpendicular to this line with the same y-intercept. So I'm going to have y equals mx plus b. My new line, I want to have the same y-intercept. So notice it's going to be plus 6. So what's my slope have to be of the new line if they're perpendicular? The slope of my old line is negative 2. So I have to find, how do I find the slope of the perpendicular line? I'm sorry? 1/2. Good, but how did you get that for everyone else? I know you did in your head, but what did you do in your head? That's why. In order for it to be perpendicular, the two slopes have to multiply together to give you negative 1. So what you really said was negative 2 times what will give me negative 1? And the answer is 1/2, because you divide it by negative 2. And that's why I got this. So this is going to be a little tricky until you get used to it. So I gave you some time. That's all there is in this section. Everyone has a sheet. Today you guys can work in groups to do these sheets. Work with the 3 or 4 at your table. Whoever's at your table, unless you prefer to do it on your own. But you can work together in groups or pairs, however you want to do it. Either groups of 2 at your table or groups of 4. And I'll come around. If you get stuck, let me know. I'll come around and I'll help you with these. At the end, there's also some confusion. You don't take whatever you finish at the end of the day. Just turn this in. So it's not all complete. Turn it in. Don't take it home and do the rest of it for homework. You have different homework for today, so and I'll write it up on the board in a second. So just turn this in, even if it's half done, however far you get. That way I can see what you're doing and I can help make corrections on it. Okay?
You're supposed to be turning this in every day.
if you didn't before, don't worry about it now. But yeah, just turn them in at the end of the day. They're not for homework. You don't have to take them home and do that. Yes?
Like next period I've been class.
Perpendicular means we're going to have a slope that so you want to multiply that. So one
Do it, don't give up. I don't know if I
Are you just getting off the white one or having no? I'm not sure how to delete that. You can take them
guys, no socializing. Work on the problems, please.
mentally something.
Someone didn't get credit for the homework. If someone wants to claim this, I couldn't tell whose writing that was.
Like, break quick. I don't know if
okay. I got it.
Guys, please work on the worksheets, not the homework. Do the homework at home. We'll do the worksheets first. Those who are in the book.
Okay. So you're gonna go. You can go down and then yeah, or you could go up and then this way. What do we do when there's only like this? Oh, it's consistency over one. Never mind, this is the figure that only helps my answer. Claire taught me how to do it. Except for this one. Because it's point 0.25. I get it. Wait, I get it. So you just want this y. Yes, I got these.
저번에 받은 거? 풀어야 돼?
X looks like this. Oh. You're right. Y.
Wait, Mr. Say you're off page.
This one was x equals -5. I had that one. Have a good afternoon.
No homework. Why does it change? So hard.
Yesterday's? Did you turn in yesterday's? This was Tuesday's homework. That's yesterday?
I got it.
Turn it in. Just turn it in on the way
Oh,
out.
my best friend.
Yes, this one going down.
Oh. They ate one, four, one, one.
They are on this black flash here.
Okay. So.
How would you?